Hi greedy 3Ders. Today we are doing another video on the Matrix. We're going to be printing Trinity in her leathery PVC get-up, and we're going to be printing her from Wicked, the wonderful Patreon site where you can get some absolutely fantastic sculpts of all sorts of things I'm sure you will love. And we're going to be printing her on the RS Turbo using their PAU11 resin. Stay tuned. So on the build plate, everything of course looks absolutely fine, but until you get it off the build plate, you really never know what you're dealing with. And on closer inspection, you can see there's a couple of faults in it. Firstly, the head. The head has got quite an obvious line running straight through the middle of Trinity's face there. That is not ideal. Secondly, you've got the marks on the trousers that look almost like layer lines. I don't know what you'd call them apart from that. Some kind of shift as it goes up through the printing process. Now, there's a couple of reasons that could be there. I have got an FDM printer that runs in the room, and my A1 was running fairly close to it at the time. Not on the same desk, but close. Could it be a vibration from my A1? It's possible. Could it be something to do with the resin? Well, the resin is the PAU11 from Hey-Gears. It's one of their new resins. And to be fair, it's not really a resin that should be used for models or miniatures, especially for something that I've done in this case. It's more used for casings and industrial things that are going to be kept outside, or more sort of an ABS-like resin. There's no real reason it shouldn't have printed perfectly, but I am aware that I could have used a model, a resin more suitable to it. You could just print them again, of course. You could change your resin, print them again, turn your A1 off just in case it is that your FDM printer vibrating away in the background. But not everybody has got access to resin galore. You might have used your last bit of resin on this, so what I've done with it, I've repaired it, which is really easy to do in this instance. All I did was used a little bit of sandpaper just to get the support marks off and sand the face down a little bit, and then I used a rotary tool with what looks like a wire brush on it, and I gave it a really good blast over it. Now, is it perfect? No, it's not perfect. As I say, I could have printed it again, but I live in the real world sometimes, and I want to try to do the best I can with what I've got, and you may not be in a position to print it again, which is exactly why I've gone with what I've gone with, and it looks absolutely adequate for what I'm going to do with it. And you've got to remember with these models as well, Trinity is going to be sitting on a shelf looking down at me. I'm not going to be like staring at her 1 centimetre away and see every little mark on her. I sanded the trousers down and they look fine. I used that wire wool on them and I've got no problem with them. So yes, there was a problem with the print quality, but we rectified it. The other thing I did, I put a hole through the boot, putting a blooming drainage hole in, as you do sometimes. It went straight the way through. I just filled that with a bit of UV putty, sanded it down, and I'm going to ride with that. That's absolutely fine. There's no problem there. To prime the model, I've used some of this. This is just Army Painter Black Primer, and the whole thing has had a complete coat with this, and she is now ready for the next stages. For those of you that watch my videos, you know how I do flesh when I'm airbrushing it. No mud flesh, straight over the primer is what I'm going to do to start with on the face and the arms, getting a really good coat. I want to probably get rid of 99.9% of that black, a little bit maybe in the shadows, but the majority of it off before using barbarian flesh, just to go top down, as if the natural light would hit certain areas. Don't put it all over the face, just go top down, top of the nose, top of the head, cheeks, etc. On the arms, just think of what orientation they're going to be, put them on the model first so you know, almost like a zenithal shade of skin colours, and the lighter colours will go along the top of both arms and the face. There's not too much skin here, and wildling flesh is the last and not the least colour. Again, be really careful with this. Before I've done some painting where I've just overdone it on this and ruined the whole thing and desaturated the model completely. So just from the top down, literally at a certain angle, to just catch the tips of the nose, the edge of the nose, the top of the cheeks and the top of the brow, and on the arms, just those bits that are literally just going to be the top of the body. Now, to get Trinity's really shiny leather look on her top and her trousers, you might think I buffed it, you might think it was a difficult process. It really wasn't. Let me tell you the process I went through. It had a coat of primer, just some black primer, and the reason I put some black primer on there is just to make sure that I've covered all the resin to allow any further coats of paint to stick onto that primer. When I say further coats of paint, I've just used some satin black spray paint. This, although it says satin, it's really shiny when it goes on, so it adds a shine on its own. But the pièce de résistance has been this gloss varnish here, and I just put this on carefully. I gave it a couple of coats, allowed the first coat to dry and gave it the second coat. And the important thing when you're putting this varnish on is you've got to let it dry. Don't be tempted to tap it with your finger to see if it's dry, because then Trinity's leather is going to have a big fingerprint in it. So patience is the name of the game. And with those layers on, that's it. I've done nothing else, and it just looks really, really leathery and really shiny, and it's almost like well, PVC kind of look. I don't know what to describe it as, but it definitely replicates what it looks like in the movies, which is exactly what we were after with just 3 layers of material. So onto the brush stage, and I'm going to be using this Pro Acryl Flesh Wash just to give a little bit of life back into the skin, and I'm just going to paint this robustly all over the skin. Now the other thing I've done before, which I haven't caught on video, is I've sealed this skin with a clear varnish, just not a shiny, just a clear varnish, just to protect it. So if I do make any mistakes, I know that that paint underneath is protected. I'm going to take a little sponge, it's like a makeup sponge, and I'm going to rip it so that there's a rough edge, and all I'm going to do with this Pro Acryl paint is literally dab it off, and that will leave almost like little speckles in the background and just add a shade of that skin flesh colour on top of the Army Painter paints. And it does just add it's like a pinky or reddy colour, but it doesn't just add one complete colour all the way across. It breaks it down and it adds speckles, etc. And I'm going to do exactly the same on the arms. Now you don't want to leave it on there too long so that it starts to dry. You want to get it off reasonably quickly, because otherwise you'll be left with some patches. Now some slight patching maybe is not an horrendous thing, because it adds to the colour of the arms. And if you just compare that with my skin, you can see that it's starting to look really, really like a skin tone, and I'm really enjoying what's happening with it. There is this red wash next. Now this sort of red tone, again, it's an Army Painter wash. I'm just going to put on in certain areas and then get it straight off again using a different brush and almost feather it away. So get a good dollop around the eyes. Use that dry brush to feather it away up and down and around to just leave that hue of red in the background. And you can also see, if you look really closely, some of the marks that the Pro Acryl has left that look like almost freckles really. Going around the hairline also, so make sure you brush that into the hairline. And also you've got to think about things like the nose, the chin, the ears especially. We want those to look a little bit pinkified, a little bit like there's some blood flowing through the surface. And I'm also just giving it a coat across the lips. I did go with some Lagos purple on the lips, which I didn't catch on video, and I did that a little bit later, but I'm also using this wash across the hands just to give those hands also a little bit of there's a little bit of blood rushing through the underneath the skin for them. It just adds a little bit of tone to the body. Now Trinity's hair is black, so I'm just going to take some Brink Black, and with a little tiny brush I'm going to really carefully, keeping it off my skin tones, just go over it. Now although it's sealed the skin tones, you have done a bit more work on it, so consider sealing it again after you've done the washes and the Pro Acryl. I didn't do it on this, but it's certainly something I probably should have done, because if I did make a mistake with the hair, which thankfully I didn't, then getting that paint off would have been a little bit more difficult. Again, I've just put the eyebrows on roughly because she's going to be wearing some glasses, so you won't really see them. You could, if you really want to, just take a really, really fine brush and paint the eyebrows on literally line by line. I haven't on this occasion, and I've just painted the gun black, as you can see. We'll do some dry brushing on that later, but that's the gun done. Any little marks on the arm I can just get off with a little wet brush. Skeleton bone next for the boots, and the boots I just want them to stand out a little bit, so I'm using an old print. It's an old base print that was just lying around, just to get the majority of that dry brushing colour off. And I'm literally just going to go over the external folds of the boot with that skeleton bone, and it just makes the leather on the boots look a little bit more flat and old and worn and used. And don't forget, she's going to have that really, really shiny top and trousers on, so I really wanted the boots to compare to that and in a stark contrast. I didn't want them to look exactly the same. So that's all I'm doing with the boot. Really, really easy. You can't see the mark on it where I filled it. As I spoke about earlier, I did have to fill that when I put a hollowing hole through it, but you can't see that. The little holsters as well that sit on that shiny top, I've just done exactly the same with those, so they will stick out a little bit. The base, real easy. If you watched my Neo video, it's going to be pretty much the same. Some stone golem grey paint, and I haven't actually primed the base. All I've done is printed it in black in Slogic PLA, and I'm going to paint straight over the top of that. You can pretty much get away with it if it's black, and you can see that the paint will go on absolutely no dramas at all. And I'm just going to dry brush the whole thing. I don't like to overdo bases, to be honest. I mean, some bases are really intricate, but on a model like this, I just want it to look like it's plain. It's fairly simple, but fairly realistic as well. So some streaking grime across the little joins in the path, and around some of the more deeper gouges in the base as well. And that's pretty much the base done, just to add a little bit of matrix style to it, like I did on the Neo model as well. I just took a little bit of bright green, it's decaying robes in this case, and I just went around the edges. I just wanted to brighten it up a little bit and make it just look, I don't know, a little bit less boring and more matrixy, and that's the base done. It's not really rocket science, was it? Nice and easy. Now I did take some natural flesh, popped it on a dry brush, and I'm just going to gently dry brush across the hairline where the hair joins the body, and on some of the higher areas as well, just to bring that flesh back a bit on the end of a nose, for example, on the chin, just on the top of the brow, just to bring that colour back into it. Not too much, don't want to overdo it, but I quite like the way this looked on the hair, so I thought, well, you know what, I'm going to give the hair a little bit of a blast all the way across with this as well, just to take that boringness away of black. Not too much though, and I definitely not want to do too much across the hair, because she has got black hair, she hasn't got grey hair, and this colour will just add to that kind of, it's like different shades and hues of hair colour really, and obviously where it joins the scalp as well has got a bit of a lighter colour, and that's what she looks like. I've gone over the eyebrows a bit just to tone them down, and taking a little bit of glue on a toothpick, I put the glasses on there. These glasses are delicate, they are intricate. I've just painted them black, and I'm going to stick them onto the bridge of a nose. This was difficult. I found this difficult on Neo, but it was difficult also on Trinity, just to get them in the right place, because super glue, it don't give you long to play with, but luckily I got them where I wanted them to be, and that's what they look like with the glasses on. You can see what I was on about the eyebrows. You don't have to go over the top with them, and some gloss varnish just sitting there on top of the glasses just finishes them off absolutely beautifully. And you can also see that Lagos purple that is sat on her lips, just to make her look a little bit more Trinity-ish. She's pretty much done, apart from we've got a couple of bits on her uniform to paint. Well, a couple of bits, one bit actually. Just the big belt in the centre needs a silver coat all the way across it, and that literally is Trinity done and dusted. Let's have a little bit of a closer look at her when she's all finished. Hope you enjoy this. So there we go, Trinity is all finished, and I'm really pleased how she has come out. Some of these things that we see other people doing on the internet, when you see the final result, sometimes you think, oh my god, how did they get that? But there's a few easy tricks of the trade that you learn as you plough through this hobby, and I'm hoping that you've learned something today from this video, especially on how to put that shiny on Trinity. If you have enjoyed it, please let me know. Leave a comment down below in the place where YouTube allows you to leave comments. Tell me if you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you think there's something else we can do, or if there's something better you can do to get that shiny effect. Think about joining the Greedy 3D Patreon. I'll put all the links down below. Thank you to my Patreons. You guys are wonderful. Thank you for your support. If you want to subscribe to the channel, that really would be appreciated. As I always say, it's a quick, simple thing. You can just click the subscribe button. It doesn't cost you anything, and it means so much to the channel and helps the channel grow. Leave me a comment, please. Let me know what you think, and what we're going to do next on Greedy 3D. Who knows? I haven't got a clue, but stay tuned because something exciting I'm sure will happen very, very soon. Thanks for watching.